Hello, in this video I'm going to show you in my Mutsuki, which is a Japanese destroyer that I've kind of a love-hate thing with this ship. Kind of most games I get in it are pretty average, to be honest, but occasionally you get a really awesome game in the Mutsuki that just makes me want to keep playing it more and more. I've got the ship fully upgraded by the time of this game. I've also got the torpedo acceleration skill on, which makes the speed of the torpedoes on the Mutsuki reasonable, but it does put the range down to 8 kilometers, which I still feel is sufficient for a Japanese destroyer, especially since it has a 6 kilometer detection range, so it does give me 2 kilometers to play around in. But unfortunately it's just the slow reload time, the slow torpedoes, the fact that it's only got 2 guns just means it's a ship that quite often it just doesn't feel particularly effective. And where I've done the typical destroyer thing, I've rushed forward to capture the A base, and basically I've started spotting the enemy team for my allies, well theoretically for my allies, but they're all hanging way back so they can't support me. But I have spotted that there is a North Carolina class battleship leading the enemy team. It's also worth noting that this is a tier 8 game and I'm a tier 6 destroyer, so I am very much bottom of the heap in this game. But tiers actually don't matter so much in this game, classes are far more important, and I'm feeling pretty comfortable taking a Mutsuki up against a North Carolina, especially when its escorts are behind it. So I close into with 8 kilometers, fire off 6 torpedoes, basically hoping that since the North Carolina is out of the range of all the enemies it can just see, that it won't avoid these torpedoes. And fingers crossed, looks like it's going to happen. Starts turning at the last minute, but I still get 3 hits on target, which is pretty good opening move for me in the Mutsuki. It's actually pretty rare nowadays as I find a battleship that's not being well escorted by cruisers. I feel over the last few months in particular, cruiser players have gotten much better at escorting battleships. So that kind of opportunity straight out at the start of the game doesn't actually happen very often for me. Now, I 10 seconds till my torpedoes are back reloaded, and basically for the first part of this game I'm going to be doing the kind of classic Japanese destroyer thing. I'm going to be hanging basically just outside my detection range, kind of between 7 and 8 kilometers from the enemy, and just gradually pulling back to rejoin the rest of my team. Basically, well, I'm probably actually about 15 kilometers away from my nearest ally at this point, and if I were to be spotted right now, basically all those enemy ships would shoot at me. They don't have anyone else to shoot at. So I really want to remain undetected for now. And, well, that torpedo broadside clearly missed. The North Carolina was turning basically as soon as I fired those torpedoes. But, well, a minute later I'll be able to fire again. 30 seconds to go. The enemy team are well into the A capture point, but I did manage to get a few, well, supremacy points out of it, so it was well worth rushing forward to grab it. Just on the odd chance that this game comes down to be very close in points. Torpedoes are almost reloaded, so I'm turning to present my broadside to the enemy. Getting a bit concerned about that Cleveland. It's getting very close, but I want to get these torpedoes off. And there we go, and start turning away, but I left it a bit too late and the Cleveland spots me. So I immediately put my smoke screen on and turn into my smoke so they won't be able to see me. But I think I actually got incredibly lucky there. Basically, an allied cruiser of mine came within range of the enemy ships just before they spotted me, so they're all shooting at that cruiser and just completely ignore me. And then I get lucky with my torpedoes. I just missed the North Carolina I was aiming for, but the enemy Atlanta sails right in front of it, and I managed to get a lucky hit on that Atlanta. I say lucky hit, it took away about half that Atlanta's health. It's only a light cruiser, so it doesn't have a lot of hit points. I should also mention that my first torpedo salvo that hit the North Carolina also took away half of its hit points. So far I've actually done about 40,000 hit points of damage. Haven't taken any damage myself, I was only spotted briefly, haven't even been shot at yet. So I think I'm kind of doing my job so far in terms of skirmishing. I've basically come back and rejoined my team, so I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive now. I still don't want to be spotted. My team's ahead on points, but not hugely so. See me there, I fired 3 torpedoes at North Carolina, which is the one you see marked by the grey sector. I also fired 3 torpedoes at the Cleveland. It is the closest ship and the most threatening ship. And here I'm actually taking a pretty huge risk. Well, not huge risk. I was hoping that the Atlanta would be dead before it popped out the other side of the smoke screen. That wasn't the case, so the Atlanta is now spotting me for my for its allies. I was hoping I'd get incredibly lucky there again and manage to hit it with another torpedo, but wasn't to be. The Cleveland I'd fired it has turned 180 and missed my torpedoes, and the North Carolina's also turned slightly and has also managed to dodge my torpedoes. Now I'm outside of detection range from that Atlanta again, and I'm coming back around just to get close to the North Carolina. The Atlanta dies before my torpedoes have reloaded, and since the enemy Cleveland's pulling back, this North Carolina is actually very isolated right now. Unfortunately, it turns into me and I didn't spot it turning quickly enough, so it's actually spotting me right now. I decide to fire my torpedoes, release 3 of them, send 3 more off at the Cleveland, which is kind of, now it's coming towards me, it's within my torpedo range, and then start pulling back again. But this is a bit awkward to pull back from this situation just because that North Carolina is fairly close to me, but I don't want to angle away from the North Carolina because that will expose me to fire from the Cleveland, which gets a big hit on me. North Carolina managed to avoid my torpedoes again, but the Cleveland it doesn't. So there's 2 torpedo hits on the Cleveland, and I managed to, well, I was going to say finish it off, but I didn't finish it off. I basically killed it from full health almost. Well, no, I didn't get Devastating Strike Award, so it must have been pretty well damaged by that point. And now this North Carolina is well and truly isolated. I was seriously contemplating shooting at it with my guns here. The nearest enemy ship is that Warspite behind it, and I feel like the North Carolina is pretty well distracted, so it's not going to actually shoot at me. But I decided it's not really worth the risk. I'm pretty close. I'll just get my torpedoes loaded and fire them away. Have a bit of a guess at where the North Carolina is going to end up, because of course it is turning as I fire, so it's a bit difficult to predict, but I had a feeling it wasn't going to turn that tightly that time, and it looks like I might have guessed about right. Hopefully. 1 hit, but my second salvo is going to miss. And again, the North Carolina actually managed to spot me. I decide now, since it is spotting me, I might as well use my guns. Oh, it's actually firing at me with my main armament, so I turn away, manage to avoid its return fire. Well, actually, I suppose it fired at me first, so I'm returning fire now. 2 shells out, get 1 hit, does no damage. I'm trying to aim for the bow of the North Carolina here, which is fairly poorly armoured. But I'm hitting a bit far back. I'm hitting below the turrets. Well, it doesn't matter now because the North Carolina's dead. And, well, basically, we're actually winning this game pretty well. The enemy holds 2 of the capture points and they're capturing a 3rd. Well, we're capturing B at the same time. But they've lost a lot of ships down the south here. Partly because they had quite a few battleships decide to just hang back while a few of the more aggressive players pushed forward and were basically focused down by my team, which is also playing very defensively. But I'm rushing forward now to try and get close enough to these battleships, and I was actually trying to get close to the Warspite, but I didn't actually realise that the Tirpitz is in front of it now. But turn broadside on, get my torpedoes off just as the Tirpitz managed to spot me, and I turn away, hoping to disengage. But basically I decide that in this situation it's ignoring me. I'm just going to start shooting it with my guns and try and do a bit more damage. There's only kind of 3 enemy battleships here. I'm pretty confident that I can avoid their fire. And see, I started a fire there. 3 torpedo hits caused 3 floodings, which means that Tirpitz is going to be in a lot of pain unless it can put those fire and flooding out, which it appears to have just done. And its secondary guns are opening up on me, but because it's got its bow pointed towards me, most of its secondary armament won't be able to fire at me. And it's on only a few thousand hit points, and I'm doing basically 500 damage with every broadside. So it won't take long for me to kill it. It is turning around to fire at me, and I've started a fire which will eventually kill that Tirpitz, so I turn away to minimise my profile. And there we go. Killed an enemy battleship. My second kill of the game, and I decided since I'm basically there, I'll go capture B now. Enemy team currently holds all 3 capture points, and they've actually managed to overtake us on points, even though we've got a slight lead in the number of ships remaining. The Miyoko takes a shot at me, but misses quite badly. I thought of going and helping my allied New Orleans against that Mutsuki, but well, they kill each other, so I'm not needed over there anymore. So I decided to focus on B, and this Miyoko class cruiser that's, well, it must have been skulking around in the back the whole game. Don't know how it's taken so much damage, because we haven't really had a lot of ships over there. I suppose it was probably engaging the New Orleans at fairly long range. But anyway, I've almost captured B, and I'm moving towards the Miyoko to try and get within torpedo range of it, which I've just managed to do. Switch to torpedoes, fire off one narrow spread, and decide to make the second one wide just because I just need one hit on the Miyoko. And it's a pretty agile ship, so I would like a bit of luck and just cover a lot of area. And I'm just watching to see what happens. I think the Miyoko's turned a bit since I've fired my torpedoes. And yeah, it looks like they're all going to miss. I've been spotted by its spotter plane, or actually it'll be a fighter plane. So I decided to open up with my guns. It's only on a few thousand hit points, and there's actually a decent chance I can beat it in a gunnery duel, provided I can avoid getting hit by its 8-inch guns, which so far I've managed to do pretty alright. I've only done less than 1,000 damage to it, so this is going to take a long time, and we have to dodge a lot more than that. 330 damage, which by my count makes it 990, and I take a hit from the front. And at this point I realise that I'm actually heading straight towards an enemy battleship, which fortunately dies, but I did take some hits from its secondary fire. The Miyoko's now out of my gun range, but this Tirpitz is within my torpedo range. Swing my torpedo troops around, fire off 6 torpedoes, and well, actually at the moment I'm unspotted, but I decide I'm going to head back north, try and finish off that Miyoko. I was winning that engagement before these battleships distracted me, but to be honest, killing battleships is my job, so it's alright. I decided I'm going to continue engaging battleships with my guns. Just because this is still a Japanese ship, so you get very good high explosive shells with a good chance of starting fire, and it is actually pretty easy to kill battleships with fire, especially if you combine it with flooding from torpedoes. But those torpedoes were looking good at the Tirpitz, but oh, there we go. 2 hits, 3 hits, and that's the High Calibre medal for me. It only took 13 torpedo hits and 20 main calibre gun hits. I didn't think I'd have done that much. Anyway, re-engaging the Miyoko with my main calibre guns. Yes, 1 hit. Doesn't look like it did any damage. And the second hit. I'm only firing my forward turret at the moment because my rear turret hasn't been able to swing around quickly enough. I managed to take out one of its AA guns, but that's completely irrelevant. And I'm getting hits, just not doing any damage. And hello, Amagi. Hard to port. Not quite soon enough, though. So take a bit of damage from my ally there and do a bit of damage to it, but I didn't spot that happening quickly enough. And we take B again, which is my 3rd base capture of this game, and I'm heading into A. And basically I want to try and finish off this Tirpitz as well, but well, I killed it with flooding from my torpedo strikes earlier. Which means this game is pretty well in the bag. There's only one enemy ship left. It is a aircraft carrier, I believe an Independence class aircraft carrier. We hold 2 of the bases. We are ahead on points, and I'm about to capture A. And I'm pretty sure the aircraft carrier's kind of to the north of A somewhere, or the northwest of A, I would say. So once I've captured A, I'll go and try and chase it down. But it's got very little hope of actually winning this game at this point. Oh, there it is. More to the west of A than north. The Independence is probably the first American aircraft carrier that's actually good in short-range engagements, which means that this shouldn't be difficult, but you never know. So I'm just firing away with my guns. I'm trying to hit a citadel by aiming kind of at the belt and below, or behind, or I suppose below the smokestacks. But the Independence obviously has actually pretty good armour, and my shells that hit on the waterline actually aren't penetrating its armour or doing any damage. It's only the ones that go high that are doing a little bit of damage. And managed to capture A, going in for a torpedo attack, and well, I completely botch it, and then I try again and completely botch it again. So that's a little bit embarrassing. Yeah, but well, the aircraft carrier died, so that's the main thing, I suppose. And we did manage to win the game, of course. Got a lot of experience, 3 kills, 3 base captures, 13 torpedo hits, a lot of main caliber armament hits, top of my team, and did a lot of damage. So, all in all, I'm pretty happy with that result, although I obviously need to improve or work on my close range torpedo skills. But yeah. Anyway, I thought that game was pretty fun, and I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.